Things can change so fast in the NBA. The target you had yesterday could be extremely different the next day. And after the Raptors and the Pacers made a major trade, the New York Knicks may have a different target on their mind. We're going to break down exactly who that is and why the Knicks may be interested in him. All of this and so much more today. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. The Knicks are interested in adding Bruce Brown to the roster. DeJounte Murray, Malcolm Brogdon, Alec Burks, just a few names over the last few weeks that have been linked to the New York Knicks. But the Knicks have not pulled the trigger on any of those trades yet. They've been patient, they've been waiting, and to me, they've been biding their time, waiting for some of these players' values to drop a little bit so that way they can get them for a cheaper value. However, after a massive trade happened yesterday between the Raptors and the Indiana Pacers, sending Siakam over to the Indiana Pacers, now there's a question mark regarding the New York Knicks and potentially the new target that they could go after. And that new target, like we said earlier, is Bruce Brown. Let's first break down this massive trade that caused this entire situation. Shout out to Adrian Wojnarowski for breaking down the following. According to Woj, the Indiana Pacers are finalizing a trade to acquire Pascal Siakam in a deal that's going to send Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, and 3 first-round picks to the Toronto Raptors. New Orleans is also involved in the deal, and they're sending Kara Lewis Jr. to the Toronto Raptors. Indiana is sending 2 2024 first-rounders and a 2026 first-rounder to the Raptors. New Orleans sends a second-round pick to Indiana. Now I know what you're thinking. Troy, that's Indiana and Raptors news. That's not New York Knicks news. Now, in part, maybe I would agree with you. However, it wouldn't have been Knicks news until Ian Begley reported the following. Shout out to my guy Ian Begley, an SNY NBA Insider, who reported that after that trade that the Raptors and the Pacers made, the New York Knicks may have a new target in mind. The Pacers again traded Bruce Brown to the Toronto Raptors as part of the Siakam deal. The Knicks, as reported in late June, had significant interest in Brown during the 2023 free agency. New York couldn't match the deal Brown received from the Pacers, 2 years, $45 million. The club also had strong interest in adding Donte DiVincenzo, who obviously they ultimately signed to a 4-year, $47 million deal. Clearly, as you can see there, 2 years, $45 million, 4 years, $47 million. Very big drop-off in price there. Begley continues by stating Brown is now in Toronto. If the Raptors make him available, there is significant internal support within the Knicks to pursue Brown. New York is also looking at other positions, but a ball handler / playmaker is a focus. Brown has played lead guard earlier in his career in Detroit, so he could fill that role in New York. Begley makes sure to note that the Knicks have competition in regards to going after Bruce Brown. But if Toronto do field offers for Brown, the Knicks will surely make the call. Another day, another trade target. Shout out to my guy Ian Begley for giving us this report and letting us know the recent updates on the New York Knicks and who their next trade target is. Now, I've known the Knicks have had interest in Brown. As Begley just reported there, they had interest in Brown even when they had interest in Donte DiVincenzo. The unfortunate part was Brown was costing too much money. 2 years, $45 million. They ended up signing Donte DiVincenzo on a 4-year deal for $47 million. Donte DiVincenzo is shooting lights out from 3 right now, having his best year in terms of shooting the 3 ball this year. So I think the New York Knicks are very happy with their signing. And definitely, if you look at Donte DiVincenzo's price tag now, given his output for the Knicks, I think that contract looks very good in the grand scheme of things. But if you go back to Bruce Brown, as Begley reported, as soon as he was traded to the Raptors, the Knicks immediately showed interest again. Because again, when somebody you coveted wanted to get this offseason, but you weren't able to get either because of the money or whatever the reason may be, if he becomes available again, you're absolutely going to show interest. But honestly, I just need the New York Knicks to pick a direction. Each and every day, we see a new name linked to the New York Knicks. And the Knicks continue to remain patient. But honestly, I need them to let us know where they stand and where they're going to go in regards to trades. Are they absolutely going to trade for a star and that's the only player they're looking for right now? are they absolutely targeting a role player right now and only looking for that star in the offseason? They need to make that absolutely clear. If Bruce Brown is the player they're going to go after, I have no problem with that. And honestly, I can understand it. I think the Knicks will go after him if he's made available, but I don't think the Knicks are going to give up significant assets for Brown because, again, as all the reports are indicating, the Knicks want to hold on to their significant assets if and when that star becomes available. And they're looking to make that star or superstar trade this offseason. If that's the case, then all signs are pointing to the fact that they're going to retain as many assets as possible and make sure they hold on to that in any trade that they do and make that major trade this offseason. And you got to remember, the Raptors just traded an all-star in Siakam for basically Bruce Brown, Jordan Nora, and picks. If that's the case, then you got to wonder, are they going to be willing to part with Bruce Brown that easily? And even if they are, would they be willing to accept the Knicks offer? And obviously with the Knicks, as the reports have indicated, they don't want to give up significant assets at this point in time. And if they don't want to do that, I really can't see a deal happening between the Raptors and the Knicks right now for Bruce Brown. It sounds nice, and clearly I can understand the interest, but in my opinion, it doesn't make sense for the Raptors to send off Bruce Brown, somebody that they got in return for their all-star in Siakam, to the Knicks of all places, for maybe a package of picks and Evan Fournier and Grimes. That wouldn't make sense. And honestly, I don't even see the Knicks giving up that much to get Bruce Brown. So it sounds nice, but I don't see that deal happening at all. But shout out to Ian Begley for giving us this report. You may be asking yourself, though, why is this even a story? Well, Begley went into this a little further, and he gives us his update on Bruce Brown and what he talked about with the New York Post earlier this season. Per Begley, Brown earlier this season told the New York Post that Knicks head coach Tom Thibodeau has been a fan of his since college. Logic tells you that Thibodeau would like to pursue Brown, but there are people other than the head coach who see Brown as a potential target. The Knicks are looking at players who are under contract in 2024-2025, in part because they could include that player in an offseason trade. But New York isn't solely focused on players under contract through 2024-2025. The club has at least one player on an expiring deal on its radar at the deadline. Trade rules dictate that the Raptors can only trade Brown in a deal rather than including him with other players. The Knicks could match Brown's salary by including Evan Fournier in a trade. Toronto would presumably seek trade assets or a young player in a Brown deal. The Knicks can include 8 first-round picks in trades. They also could include Quentin Grimes in a Brown deal. Clearly, if he's made available, the New York Knicks are going to be in the running. They're going to pursue him, and they're definitely going to be interested. Because obviously, the interest does not only stem from Tom Thibodeau, who clearly has been a fan of Brown since his college years, but also internally, the Knicks have interest in adding him as well too. And his contract might make sense for the New York Knicks as well. Because again, time and time again, reports have indicated they do want to target somebody who's making a lot of money, but also maybe on an expiring deal. Brown, if they trade for him, will be making a lot of money this season and next season. So if they want to facilitate a trade for a star or a superstar, his salary could match one of those deals. But also, he would be on an expiring deal as well too. So it would match the New York Knicks in regards to their plans and what they're looking to do this offseason. Because in order to make these superstar trades, you're going to need players that make a lot of money on your team, number one. You're going to need picks, and you're going to need young assets. Right now, the Knicks have all of that. I don't think the Knicks are going to include Grimes in any type of Brown deal. I think they would much rather include Fournier and a lot of other picks that they have to go after Bruce Brown versus including Quentin Grimes. I think if they're going to use Grimes in a deal, it's going to be a deal for an all-star or a superstar to come to this team. Not because I think that they value Grimes that much or see him as an all-star. I just think that if you're going to give up a young asset, plus all the picks that's likely going to be required, and another salary matching type of player on top of that, then I think the player that you have to go after in that type of deal has to be a superstar. Because if you go after a role player or a very elite role player at that regard and giving up that much, it won't make sense. But I do understand the love affair. Again, he is a former NBA champion. He is very productive and impactful on any team that he can join. There's a reason why many contenders are going to be interested in him. Because any team he goes to, he's going to help, he's going to make better. And if your head coach has been a fan of this player since his college years, the Knicks might be even more motivated to go out and get him. He's going to have value later on as well too. So that means if it doesn't work out, then he can potentially be used as a trade asset to be flipped later on for another player that the Knicks want. And if he does well under Tom Thibodeau, which in my opinion, I think he will, his value is going to increase, and maybe that only helps you get another player that you want later on. Again, there's a lot of benefits to adding him, but there's also a lot of benefits to adding DeJounte Murray. There's also a lot of benefits to adding Malcolm Brogdon. My point is, there's always going to be benefits depending on the player we're talking about. There's benefits for trading for DeJounte Murray. There's benefits for trading and adding Clint Capella. There's same benefits for adding Brogdon. Same benefits for adding Burks. There's many different type of benefits each and every single one of those trades would offer you. Same goes for this Bruce Brown trade here. The only thing is, again, I wouldn't include my young assets in a Bruce Brown trade because I don't feel that's the trade you do it for. I feel the only trade you do that for is for an all-star or a superstar to come to this team. And I think the Knicks are holding firm on that as well too, because I think even though they're opening the calls for Grimes, I think they're doing that to understand his value and what his price point is. So that way in trade negotiations, they can use that information. And if nobody wants to meet that demand, they at least know they have other teams on the line that if they call them, they could get the similar offer that they wanted for Grimes. And I think that's the whole purpose of it. Listen, I am not throwing all of my chips on the table for a player like Bruce Brown. I understand his game, love his impact, and I respect what he does. Respect his hustle as well too. He's essentially like another Josh Hart. But in my opinion, I don't want another player like that on this roster when a DeJounte Murray is available or other players like that are available. Because honestly, those are the type of players I want the New York Knicks to go after right now. If you can't get those type of players and then you target a Brown or a Brogdon, fine. I'm okay with that. And if you don't have to give up the farm to get one of these players, I'm even more okay with it. The problem is, I don't see the Raptors giving up Bruce Brown for any type of deal the New York Knicks would be comfortable with. So that's why I don't think a deal for Brown gets done during this season. So we're going to have to look at different type of players and other players that might be available whose values are sinking right now, because those are the players the Knicks are going to go after. Any player that can help this roster right now that the Knicks don't have to overpay for, those are the players the Knicks are going to target. And then come this offseason, they're going to make that massive move for a superstar. And I believe it's going to be a major trade because all of the assets that they're holding on to, all the players they're holding on to, they're likely going to use those players, especially any players they trade for this season, in a trade this offseason to likely land that star they've always wanted. Who that star is going to be, I'm not sure of that because honestly, there's always going to be a new disgruntled star each and every season. And I think the Knicks know that, and that's what they're waiting for. That's been their plan each and every offseason. Be patient, stay patient, remain calm, and make sure you look around the league for opportunity. And once that player you want becomes available, you go after him, you pursue him, you throw everything at him, and you try to get him on this roster. Is Bruce Brown that player? I don't believe that's the case. If that player does become available, though, I do think Leon Rose and the Knicks will do everything in their power to get him on this roster. I hope that they go after DeJounte Murray. I hope they can get a deal done for him. But if you can't, and you can get a Brown for a good deal, a Brogdon for a good deal, even a Burks for a good deal, whatever the case may be, I'm okay with that. As long as you can take that player you trade for and be able to recoup some value in the future for him. Potentially flip him for a star or a superstar later on down the road. If the Knicks can do that, I'm all good. But what about you guys? What do you think about this report that the New York Knicks are interested in targeting Bruce Brown, who was recently traded to the Toronto Raptors? Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.